Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. And if you are watching on the second channel, Sean Butler TV, then shout out to you guys over there as well. Hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with the people that you love doing it with. And I am doing everything that I love to do on a Tuesday lunchtime with my two favorite people, two people's opinions I respect more than most in the world when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur. I hope you lot are all locked in, dialed in. Apologies, we're 8 minutes late, 10 minutes late. We were having some discussions backstage. But we've got a lot to talk about, and I reckon this particular show could be a fiery one as we're trying to figure out via the devil's advocate what on earth is going on at Tottenham Hotspur. Is it about patience and time and a little bit more quality? Have we been found out? Why is it that we started the best version of ourselves was at the start of the season? We got loads to talk about, and who are here to join me to get through the next 90 minutes? Well, it's Dave from the Irish Hotspur, whose link I'll be plugging in just a second, and Johnny from Twitter ITK legendary status, who got back on the spaces last night. I was listening. Good to see both of you. Dave, I'll start with you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, I suppose. You know, personally, I'm good. Spurs-wise, not too happy with the weekend whatsoever. But look, we're here to have a bit of therapy about it, so hopefully that works. And good to be on with you and Johnny, as always. You know, I really do enjoy this show. You know, no problem turning up for it whatsoever. And also, good day to all the Spurs Talk Show people out there.
Good day, I'm sure they say back. Johnny, how are you, my man? How you feeling after Saturday?
Yeah. I mean, the problem for me was that, you know, I'm not an oracle, but I predicted what was going to happen. I think many fans could see what was going to happen on the weekend. And for me, it was like watching a 3-hour movie that I'd already seen and already knew the ending of. That's how bad it was for me on the weekend. But annyeong to the Korean fans out there, those that have turned up and watching.
Well, we're going to talk about
It's getting late out there. It's getting late out there. It must be about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in Korea now. So,
well, no, the Spurs Talk Show Korean channel that I did try my best to start, and it fell flat on its face after about 4 videos. I gave up. That's not linked to the show, but Sean Butler TV is. Guys, I'm going to put the link for Sean Butler TV into the chat. If a handful of you, 50% of you at the moment, there's only 125 of you in here. Shout out to all of you that are. If you wouldn't mind spending a little bit of time watching this on Sean Butler TV, I'm just trying to get the numbers up and the watch time hours up, but then you can come back and we'll do a bit of rotation. Everyone's got to share the load today. But don't worry, I'll be bringing up all of the chat as we go through so you can see what's going on regardless of which version you're watching it on.
I forgot to share the tweet. I forgot to share the
just hit the just press retweet now if you want.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be bringing up all the chat. Let's say hello to a few people first before we get into it. Cess is Gammy Hammy, member of the show. I've not seen a better trio since Del Boy, Rodney, and Uncle Albert. Every week we get a new trio. I'm not sure who's who. I'll let you guys figure that one out. I don't think we're playing well enough for top 4. I can see us finishing 6th with Villa and United above us. We're going to be talking about that at some point in the show. That's the main topic of the show. Before we get into that, we have to talk about Tottenham specific stuff. So we're going to deal with that first. Tony Rodriguez is in the chat saying, big up panel, hit the chat, hit the like and the subscribe. I think United finished 4th. We look exhausted and Ange doesn't seem to have a solution to our problems. Ange looks and sounds defeated. It's one of the questions I have for you boys today. So figure out your answer now is about Ange's press conferences. I was never a massive fan of Conte's press conferences. And I've got to be honest, this has got no bearing on my liking of Ange at all as a manager. I think I'm very patient. I'm very much on board the whole thing. But increasingly, I don't particularly have a lot of time for the way he talks to journalists. I find him a little bit snarky with the way he answers sincere questions where journalists are just trying to, maybe they're doing their job, maybe they're trying to look for an angle. In fact, I'm going to start with this. Let's get it out of the way because now I'm giving more than a 5-second intro onto it. Johnny, is there, am I wrong? Like, I feel like a lot of the time, doesn't matter whether we win, we lose, whether it's the pre-match or the post-match. He's got a little bit of a bit of an energy against journalists in the press conferences. What's your thoughts on that? Apart from the coughing, which I think he needs to go and have a look at.
It is what it is.
It's a really good impression.
Basically, I think there's been a sliding scale of emotion. That upbeat, high tempo, jolly teddy bear type guy has almost disappeared. You know, if he looks any further down at the ground, he might as well be lying on it. There was one little thing that he said after this game which really set the alarm bells ringing. It's the first time he's thrown anyone under the bus. When he turned around and said, I don't have a player that can win a game on his own. Now, what it just seemed a bit of a left field sort of statement, right?
Yeah. It wasn't even what he was asked, was it?
No. Now, why would you say that? This is a team game. He always goes on about it being a team game and the ethos. So, you know, are you actually looking at everyone and saying you don't have a single player that can win a game? And Maddison can't win a game? Or, I mean, you know, how many players are in the world that can win a game on their own? Individual.
Is he hawking back to the fact that we lost Harry Kane? Is that what it is? Do you think?
Well, no. Well, you know, that's him blaming somebody and throwing the players under the bus. If I'm a player and he's turned around and said that when not even asked, I don't actually have players that, you know, can change a game and win the game on their own. I think it's like that wasn't the reason why we lost on the weekend, right? In my opinion, we didn't lose because we didn't have one player that could win a game on his own. We lost because it was all wrong, either tactically or, you know, as a squad, understanding the system. But for me, look, I'm not Ange out by any stretch of the imagination. You know, zoom out.
No one's Ange out, are they? Surely they can't. Is there people that are Ange out?
Are
there?
There are.
Wow.
Yeah, there are. You know there are. I'm not Ange out, but listen, let's be serious, right? I'm a fan. We're all fans in this show today, but we're entitled to question what we're seeing again and again and again and again. I haven't seen any football since Newcastle at home, and they were a depleted squad. That's the last time I saw us play football for 90 minutes.
Yeah, Newcastle were on their bare bones. Before we get into the game, Johnny, look, so just in terms of Ange's press conference, you're not a fan of it either then, basically,
no,
right?
I just think that I can sense a change in mood. Mm-hmm. You know, this bubbly guy who had lots of jokes and stuff, that Ange has left the building.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing a guy that can barely pick his head up for an interview. Hardly ever smiles recently. Only the interview with the kid. I'd see a different Ange to the Ange that I saw, you know, pre-Christmas, I would say. I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
You're on mute, mate. You're on mute. Sloppy from Dave.
Sorry, it's amateur hour today, so everyone else may as well join in, and I'll teach
you was doing
all the way how to
Marcel
become professional. Look, I do agree with Johnny. I do think, you know, you look at Ange's mood, even the way he is on the sideline, you know, he doesn't look very happy. And look, I'm okay with that. I don't want my man to be standing there and smiling when we've been up and down over the last 12 to 13 games. But I think Postecoglou is a smart guy. He knows he can't say anything in a press conference. You know, look how the Spurs fan base and everyone involved with Tottenham reacted when Conte blew the place up. Whether they like what he said or not. Look how the fan base reacted when Jose Mourinho used to dig the players out in post-match press conferences. Oh, you can't do that in modern football, everything else. So Ange is one of them. I think he just knows he's being smarter. When we're losing, what's the point of coming out and adding fuel to the fire? You know, you see what happened with Conte and other managers used to do at Tottenham Hotspur. The fan base don't like it, especially when they're already questioning Ange Postecoglou and starting to question the managers, what led to Conte's sack, what led to Jose's sack, because all it does is put more and more and more pressure on them. And then when they say it's stuff in the post-match press conference after games, everything's hyper-analysed and stuff like that. So I think Postecoglou is just trying to avoid that situation, to be brutally honest with you.
Well, I'm not talking so much about the answers. Like, I think someone brings up the point here about the magician thing. I think that was taken out of context. I think he was literally answering when the guy said, "Oh, do you have any tricks of the trade or tricks and, you know, things that you can conjure up?" And then
during
he was
the
just
break.
kind of,
I think that was during the 2-week break. But still a flippant reply, isn't it?
yeah, but the reply was flippant, and it's more that's really where I'm kind of coming at. Not the fact that he's angry or annoyed after a loss, but it seems it's the same after a win, and it seems it's the same in the pre-match press conference when they called out the guy. He said, "Oh, don't question my integrity." I don't think the journalist was doing that. I think the journalist was just doing his job.
It was.
And as far as like him looking down and when he answers, I think he's always done that. Like I remember asking someone, a Celtic fan, about that when he was at when I watched when there was loads of Celtic fans that were paying attention to us at the start of the season. Shout out to them if they're still around. But they was like, oh no, that's just who he is. He doesn't like to. Maybe he's got a bit of like a kind of a lack of comfort when he's in interviews. But it's more just around like I'm happy for him to analyze the game, say what he wants, but he's quite snarky, and I don't think that's a good way to endear yourself to a massive part of the footballing story. Like I think that the journalists ultimately control a lot of for right or wrong, the mainstream media do control the narrative and the mindset of a lot of people. Some people don't like to make up their own opinions. They like to be told what to think by the people that they read, by the journalists in the Independent, the Times, the Telegraph, whatever else. And if you're going to continually like kind of snark at them every time they ask a question that is a little bit uncomfortable, then I think ultimately you're going to start to lose them, and then you might end up losing the narrative, and the narrative then will infect the minds of the fan base. And I worry about that, because when you align that with what we're currently seeing, which is poor form at best, or at worst, a situation where we're being found out a little bit, his system is being, the other teams are catching up to it quicker than we can accelerate with it, then you're going to end up with situations like where you've got a section of the fan base that are already ANGE out, which to me is absolutely insane. I just want to get your thoughts on that, guys.
I think I would like to see him own it. I don't feel like he's owned that he had any responsibility for the performances that have been going.
And got me humbly.
Yeah. I don't think he's owned the performances lately. It's like they haven't followed my instructions. It's them. What I struggle to understand when I look at him on the sideline with his arms folded and it's not going right, I don't see any interaction. Right? There's this, I let them do what they want to do, but I don't see any interaction between him and the players during the game when it's going Pete Tong. So
arms folded.
Arms folded. And you see the coaches, one of the coaches will nip out now and again and start remonstrating with certain players. So after the game, when he says they didn't follow my instructions, or, I just feel that, well, you're not instructing them. I don't see, if I look at someone like the opposite extreme, like Arteta, who every water break or every injury or player goes down,
he's kicking the ball for them, isn't he? He's kicking the ball for them.
The team is there, yeah. And Klopp's quite similar to that. And he says, I want my players to work it out for themselves. But we've got a very, very young team, and I don't think they are working it out for themselves. And I just think that, if he had a bit more interaction, I'd just like him to say, you know what, it's not working. It's a work in progress, but I've got a lot of work to do. There's things that I might need to change, rather than we aren't changing. It is what it is. I don't care what players I've got. I don't care if I've got all my centre backs missing. I'm not changing anything. I'm going to carry on playing this game. Doesn't matter if I concede 4 goals, 5 goals. This is it. This is me. Don't like it, on your bike. I don't think he's going to change that attitude, but he just seems a little grumpier recently. Rightly so, because we haven't been good. But take some responsibility. And we don't expect you to be a magician. But that sort of comment sort of upset me a little bit, because no one expects him to be a magician. Unnecessary.
Dave, are you worried about? I'll let you. I know you want to come in and answer carry on with Johnny's thing, but just throw this into the answer as well. When he's asked about the Liverpool job, he doesn't dismiss it. he's gone on as far as to say, like, I don't want to talk about that stuff. And also in the same conversation will say, I've never been anywhere more than 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. It's not really, part of the reason why I feel like I've had success is because I move on all the time rather than letting things get stale. I'm paraphrasing, but do you think there's any part of this, which is the opportunism that he sees with Liverpool, his boyhood club, whatever, that he wants to, is there any part of that, or is it just Ange?
Look, I don't think he's gonna fully shut it down when it is his boyhood club. Let's be brutally honest, and it's something that we spoke about months ago. And why wouldn't we be interested if they came calling? Me personally, I think he's smart enough not to walk straight in there after Klopp. I think he'll give it a couple of years and then maybe look at it, because you look traditionally. Alex Ferguson left. How did Man United get on? When Wenger left, look at the sort of down part that and the managers that Arsenal went through, and stuff like that. So it's going to be a huge ask for the next manager who walks in there to, keep it at the same level that they're at. They're obviously going to fall off a little bit, and I think Postecoglou is probably smart enough not to go near that for straight away, because Klopp is such a big manager to try and emulate. But look, in terms of Postecoglou in the press conference, he's always had a bit of a problem with the press, even way back to his days of being managing the Australian underage teams, where they used to criticise him a lot and stuff like that. I don't think Postecoglou trusts the press or likes the press. That's why he keeps it short and sweet. And to be honest with you, I find it very hypocritical that Spurs fans are mourning the way he's in the press conference, because when you had a manager telling us the way it was, no one liked it underneath Antonio Conte. Some of his press conference they used to go absolutely ballistic about. So I
hated Antonio Conte's press conferences.
So
I do find it hypocritical that we're now having a go at Postecoglou because things aren't going right, and now we're pulling up the press conferences, which were never an issue before, and pulling up the way he handles it. Okay, but we didn't like the way Conte handled it. So what way do fans want managers to handle press conferences then? You either want to be told what's going on or you don't. As for Postecoglou taking the blame, he took the blame for the majority of this season. Let's not forget, Conte took the blame for some stuff, so did Jose. But when things kept on going wrong, there's only so long a manager's going to keep attaching his name to it if it's not what he's asking the players to do, or they're not doing what he's asking, sending them out to do. So I have no problem with him switching up tack now. How many times have we heard other managers before coming out and blaming players and stuff like that? So, look, for me, press conference isn't what I'm going to pick Ange Postecoglou out for.
No, that's absolutely fine. Just for what it's worth, just to clarify, I don't have any issue with Ange with his press conferences when he's answering questions about football. Got no issue with that. I just don't like the way he talks to the journalists. I think that he's got 5 or 6 times now I've seen him be very cutting, and
that comes from when he was at Australia, though, Sean. They tried to.
I know. Yeah, he feels like he's been burnt in the part. I 100% agree. But like, whether it's right or wrong, I just worry about the damage that can be done. The collateral damage of that is that you get yourself in a situation where the media don't like you. Similar to the way Erik ten Hag on his debut, when and we're going to be talking about United during this show, when Erik ten Hag on day one arrived at Manchester United, and then a Sky Sports journalist tried to interview him in a car park, and he got his minder, his 6'8" minder, to tell the Sky Sports journalist to get out of here. I was at the time like, that's not the way that you endear yourself as the manager of the biggest club or one of the biggest clubs in England, probably the biggest club in England. It's not the way that you endear yourself. You need to keep them on your side. And I just wonder whether or not, if Ange says the wrong thing too many times to a sincere question that might be picking, but that's what journalists, that's just them doing their job. I just worry about, I don't care what he says about the game. I don't care how that's fine. Say what you want to say about the team and the game and all that stuff. That's your way with analysis, but be a little bit less sensitive to the way that the journalists ask the questions. I think his press conferences have always been very interesting. To be honest with you, I mean, he's never predictable. What I would say is, though, you see a shift in mood. That's what I'm saying. I see a shift in mood over the last few weeks.
He's not used to losing, Johnny.
Yeah. But I mean, look, let's be serious, right? I remember, why is Richarlison not scoring? What's going on with Richarlison? And then he scored the goal against Fulham, and he said, "Oh, it's good. Richarlison scored a goal. I'm not interested. He scored a goal. It's his other work that I was more impressed with." And then you come out with other games, and you expect him to highlight player A or player B, and he comes out and he says, I thought Pierre Højbjerg was superb when he came on. He calmed everything down. He highlights players sometimes and incidences which are a bit left field. I don't hear so much of that now. What could he say? He was stating the obvious from what we all saw. But I think, I personally think, and we've discussed it on these shows for the last few weeks, this has been coming. Nothing has really changed, I don't believe, for weeks on end.
Super chat from Verbatim. I was wondering why I couldn't find it. I said to you earlier, someone mentioned about the ANGE saying I'm not a magician. It was because it was a super chat and it was in my starred section rather than. Yeah. Big up Verbatim. Thank you for the super chat. The big surprise for him was saying I'm not a magician. Yeah, like I say, I think personally that was the way that was then, and maybe this is why he doesn't like the media. When the media takes that and runs with it and says ANGE is saying he's not a magician, it was actually in direct relation to the question, which was, do you have tricks up your sleeve? And he said, I'm a football manager, not a magician. So that you can understand a little bit where the context was. But a lot of people ran with it and thought that he's saying, I'm not like, I can't generate success out of thin air, basically, like he was criticizing something else, when in reality, he was critiquing the question that was asked. But yeah, look, like I say, it's interesting, something to keep an eye on, because I've noticed it for a while, and you have to be careful when you throw certain mud in certain directions at the moment. But I do think it's a question.
I found that quote. He just says, Ange said, it's hard these days to stay at one club for a long time. That's a tough one. If you ask me about longevity, part of that process for me has been moving on after 2 or 3 years. I've mostly done it after success, but I know I found it's always better to move on.
Yeah.
So,
but I actually like what Dave said. I think you're good. Thanks for bringing that up, John.
Sorry,
Johnny. I think Dave's right though. Be madness for whoever takes over that job
100%
next at Liverpool. It's probably going to be a very difficult. It's like replacing Alex Ferguson at United, replacing Arsene Wenger. It's going to be difficult. They're difficult to replace, especially if you have a footballing philosophy which is a little bit gung ho and is gonna have its vulnerabilities, right? But for me, Ange needs to prove himself at the highest level so far, and we're gonna move into the kind of the nuances now, and the kind of the analysis of the game in isolation. Once again, this is not an analysis of Ange ball. This is an analysis of the game in isolation, just for people that want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's not what we're doing. Dave, I want to ask you. Let's start with you, mate, on this one. The thoughts on the game. Yeah, I'll let you go where you want with it, and we'll start from there.
Look, I actually thought the first 5-10 minutes, the passing was crisp. It was on point. I was sitting there, I was like, oh, we're going to smash these today. It was completely different to where we were at Brentford, where we started off real sloppy and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's the same problem that I've tried to highlight in the first half for a number of weeks now, where I know people didn't want to hear it in recent weeks, but hopefully they actually want to listen to it a bit now. Is in possession. We're way too slow. 5-yard, 10-yard, tippy-tappy football. And the whole idea, I understand the idea behind it, because the longer you keep the ball and the less risk you take on the ball, the less chance you're going to get countered in behind. So in possession is actually a method to stop us being countered out of possession, the way we pass. But the problem is you take away all creativity and you take away getting the ball to your forward areas in the most dangerous areas with a bit of space. When Højbjerg came off the bench, he started, what's the right word? He started lengthening the passes, I would say. He started, instead, what was taking us 4 or 5 touches, touches and passes to get it out to a player, Højbjerg came on, 1 touch, bam. And we nearly got the equaliser near the end, the bar, a great block from what's that guy's name? Dawson.
Oh, and Ben Davies' header as well. I watched the highlights back.
Yeah, to miss that.
I know, so it's more difficult to miss it. Not to interrupt you, Dave, but I watched the highlights back. And I was a lot less angry watching it back. I watched the extended highlights, and I was furious after the game. But like, I'm just less angry now. I was still massively disappointed. But having watched the game back, I feel like there wasn't as many horrible mistakes as I initially thought. Sorry, Dave, carry on. I'll give you a piece this time.
No, and I just think in possession is our biggest killer right now. There's a reason why we're being caught sometimes late at games, because we're not doing enough in possession. And I think Ange Postecoglou, he needs to right now he's sacrificing the creativity and stuff like that in order to just try and stop being countered. But we were countered anyway because of a couple of silly mistakes, one from the corner and the other one from Basuma not tracking his man, or not tracking the runner coming into the edge of the box. But I think we need to be more expressive in the passing. By the time we get the ball out to Son, their whole team has shifted over. It's that slow. By the time we get the ball out to Kulu, their whole team has shifted over. It's that slow. I see Richarlison being scapegoated a hell of a lot for this victory. At the end of the day, you could have had Haaland at the weekend. He wouldn't have scored. If you don't put the ball in the box and you don't supply your striker, what do you want the guy to do? He can't do anything. And let's be brutally honest. Son was crap. Madison was crap. Kulusevski was crap. All other players that are tasked with providing him with opportunities. So if you're going to have a go at Richie, let's have a go at Golden Balls. Let's have a go at Sonny. Let's have a go at Kulu as well, even though he done brilliantly for his goal.
Who's Golden Balls?
Madison.
Okay.
But, you know, like, it's... Yeah. So, you know, it's not just on Richarlison. It's on the whole lot of them. None of them wanted to put the ball in the box. None of them wanted to test the keeper from range. Everyone was happy keeping the 5-yard tippy-tappy football. The set piece, I'm absolutely sick of talking about them. I've been talking about set pieces since Jose Mourinho, and we still can't deal with them. And I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for that. Not one player left the ground to go and meet that. If you've got guys that love defending, that want to win, you've got guys pulling each other out the way to go and win that ball. We don't have that right now. That was really poor. Then you look at the likes of
just on that point, just before you move on, just on that point quickly. I'm pretty sure, Johnny, it was you that told me before this stat a couple of weeks ago that we hadn't conceded a goal from a corner kick all season until about we conceded one. I think it was all season.
Me that gave that stat. Wasn't me.
Oh, someone else said it. We hadn't conceded anything from corner kicks or free kicks in terms of aerial threats until about the end of December. And now it seems to be a weekly thing and I think it might be because we're too worried now about protecting the goalkeeper and it's distracting us, but it's becoming now its own problem, right?
Can we sack Jedinak or Ryan Mason? Because both of them I think both of them have completely screwed up because both ends are poor. Both ends are poor. Go on, Dave. Sorry, I'll come back.
Look, just when it comes to the set pieces, right? We may not have conceded from them, but let's be brutally honest. The dangers were there. Teams were getting close. They were winning their headers. They just weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. Since then, we're starting to be punished from it. Nowhere near good enough. Basuma, you don't take that touch there when everyone's rushing out. You have a shot. You take the effort. And that was been one of our biggest problems. No one wanted to take that shot. If he did, we wouldn't have been counted like that. And at the time, it was a killer because we just got back into the game. And then it was simply avoided. Emerson done well to stop Pedro Neto get across. Van de Ven tried to get across and help him. And Basuma's just standing there in no man's land. All he has to do is throw his head over his shoulder and look for where the danger is. He hasn't even done that. So that's absolutely really, really poor from him. Look, in terms of the actual game, like, and where people are at with Postecoglou, I see a lot of reaction after the weekend. Everything's crap, you know. It's nonsense. We still got a lot of good things to work on, and I think the only thing Ange actually really needs to change is how he's going to stop us being countered so that we can have a lot more creativity going forward. Because, like I said earlier on, that stuff. Creativity is suffering. And the only other option to do that is do what maybe Pochettino used to do, where he used to get one of the centre-backs to drop back in between the centre-backs and almost make a back three and leave an extra body there. But then you lose that extra player on the ball going forward, so you might not keep as much possession, but at least we'll be more creative because you'll be able to get the ball out to Son quicker. So look, for me, I just think it was poor in that regard. And as for Postecoglou standing on the sideline and not doing anything to half-time, how many times have we seen that this week or this season? You know, where things aren't going well, we get into half-time, the players get an absolute rollicking, they get some messages from the eye in the sky, and all of a sudden they come out in the second half very quick, look to hit the teams very, very quickly. With much more.
It's a conversation at half time, mate.
Why do the players have to wait to half time for that conversation? It was the same.
100%. There is no on-field communication.
Yeah, say it on the pitch. Say it on the flipping pitch, right? This is what I'm saying. I don't want my manager. Oh yeah, I'm so cool, right? I don't need to.
But there's no leaders on the pitch, though, Johnny, and that's the problem. At top clubs, they have players that will walk around and say, come on, you're better than that. Or if the guy needs a rollicking, he'll give them that rollicking and hold.
Vicario's the only guy.
We don't have anyone on the football pitch.
Vicario, but he's a goalkeeper. He can't influence what's happening at the far end of the pitch, right?
Look, for me, I had big expectations that this was going to happen, right? Guys, come on.
Is that it? Is that right? Only 9 likes?
9 likes.
That can't be right. I'm going to check that now.
Guys, that can't be right.
That's shocking.
Smash the like button. Guys, we should be at 200 likes, 300 likes.
It's free. It's free to like a stream, okay? Dave.
No, you're not yet. He must have it open from the very start.
Listen.
How many likes are we on?
88. Now up to 100.
88. Come on, guys. He's got 150. Smash the like button. It helps the channel.
Yeah. And if you're new and you're from Korea, subscribe. Listen, look, for me, this isn't one game, right? You can all kid yourself. This is one game. This is the same MO, game after game after game since Newcastle, all right? Listen, Man United, McTominay could have headed that ball in, should have headed that ball in to win the game. Then we'd be having a different conversation. The Burnley game in the FA Cup, right? 97th minute, Højbjerg gets the blocking. Otherwise, we're going to Turf Moor for the replay. There's been so many games. You know, we were tactically outmaneuvered in the first half by Frank. Dyche had a good job on us. You know, it's not the first time. And, you know, before this game, I think it was post-match, a pre-match, where we were speaking, and we said, you know, Neto and Sarabia are going to exploit the space. We're so inverted. You've got so much room on the flanks. And, you know, you and I were there at the Wolves game away. And Lamina absolutely bossed that game. Absolutely bossed that game. And yesterday, or sorry,
Gomez.
Lamina and Gomez and Lamina, Mario Lamina and Gomez were just bossed us in the middle of the park. I didn't see any fight. I didn't see a tackle where the life depended on it. I saw no aggression. And it was just so predictable. You know, as Dave rightly said, you know, the tippy-tappy to the edge of the box, and they're working their way around like a horseshoe. Pass. Wolves, take it. Have the ball. Have the ball. Take as long as you like. You're not going to play through us. I wanted to see a player pick up the ball and drive through, try and win a free kick. You know, there was no one on that pitch that played well. I've got to be honest with you.
Can I ask you on that just quickly, Johnny?
Yeah.
That's surely not an instruction Ange Postecoglou has to give one of them players, right?
No, but what I'm saying to you is, call a player over, Dave. Call a player over. What the F do you think you're doing? That's not what I asked you. Why have you got to wait till half time to give him a rollicking? Right? We could clearly see we have not played 90 minutes of football since Newcastle. We don't play 90 minutes of football. We play 5 minutes of football or 10 minutes of football. Brentford, we didn't play the first 45. We came out, we played for 7 minutes and then retreated inside our shell.
Why are we so exhausted, Johnny? We're playing one game a week.
Well,
and we're playing 25 minutes. We're playing 20 minutes of the 90.
This is Ange ball. Right?
It's not like it's not Ange ball. Ange ball is we have the ball 7% of the time and we're going at 100 miles an hour.
I'm talking
we're not doing that anymore. We haven't done it for ages.
During the week, what is he doing during the week? How intense is the training? I know. Listen, all I can tell you,
it's 70 minutes intensity. He's done the same at Celtic.
Yeah, all I can tell you is players like Kuti have said, at this rate, my career will be finished at 27, right? Okay, and that's a fact. And what I'd also say is,
is that something that hasn't been quoted, but something you've heard?
It's just like, but listen, look, the thing is, look, he doesn't care about the defence. Have said, look, Kuti doesn't want to concede 1 goal, right? Ange doesn't care if he concedes 4 goals as long as we score 5 goals, right? That's his ethos. He doesn't really care. But some of the blame game is pretty poor. For those that said it's only Emerson's fault for the 2nd goal, I don't know what they're talking about. Basuma lost the ball.
I watched this back, Johnny. I watched it back.
I was going to say to you. I was going to say. So Basuma's lost the ball, right? Sarabia's picked it up. As not Sarabia, Gomez has picked the ball up and he's passed the ball out wide to Neto. Basuma has tracked Gomez for about 100 yards, and then he decides he's going to go towards Emerson and leave the guy totally unmarked. But not one other Tottenham player went back to get the ball.
I thought Emerson actually defended that brilliantly. If you actually watch it back, he tracks back, he glances inside to see where the cover is, and he sees he's got Van der Ven and Romero, I think it was, or maybe whoever it was who was also coming back, and he's like, okay, I've got cover there. I'm going to drift out towards Neto. Neto's super quick, and Emerson Royale catches him up. And all right, Neto then slides it back inside, but Emerson Royale's done his job.
Yeah.
But there's 3-4 other players there that are following. They're all tracking their one man, but Gomez pulls back, and no one's on top of it. And I'm not even sure if it was just Bissouma for what it's worth. I thought Van der Ven lost his man a little bit, and I also thought
he went to
help Emerson.
But when you, I'm sorry, Sean. Right, this is the mindset.
Bissouma was the main culprit for sure.
If I've lost the ball and I'm causing this, he should be running his bollocks off, right, to try and make sure that this threat is nullified. He gave up and went to the man. But the thing is, we're in the blame game here as fans, right? And the only person that got the blame there was Emerson. If you looked on social media, Emerson, you can't blame Basuma. He lost the ball 85 yards up the pitch. I'm sorry. He's culpable. Emerson's reasonably culpable. But where was the rest of our midfield? Where was the rest of the players?
It was too easy, mate. It was far too easy. Far too easy.
And then you look at the first goal. Another thing I don't like about Ange Ball, and it's bugged the hell out of me all season, and it still does. Why do we have 11 players in the box defending the corner? Even though we're
so bad at
give up goals, right? Put one player or two players up, right, by the halfway line. Because what does it do? It takes 2 or 3 out the equation straight away, right? But what we do, we play zonal, and what do we have? We have the smallest guy on the pitch, Gomez. The smallest guy on the pitch gets a free header. The smallest guy. I mean,
he's a really good player, though.
He's a great player, but it's no excuse.
We were linked with him in the second tier press. I poo-pooed it. I said I don't know enough about this player. Not sure about him. I've subsequently watched him week in, week out over the last month and a half. And I think the guy's absolute quality. It's still too early. I haven't made my mind up, but I really do like him.
We played for a minute. Well, after the break, I said we've got to make changes. I don't care if you've got the same team. Try and spread them wide. Don't make them so inverted. You can see Neto has got acres of space. Sarabia's got acres of space. Don't be so inverted. Spread out a bit. Give yourself half a chance. I mean, there were times when Davis had 2 players on him and they just played round him. I didn't understand.
Do you know what, though, Johnny? On that, the guy was caught in no man's land so many times. He didn't know whether to go to press or protect him behind because he knows he doesn't have the legs to get back. And that's what led to that. That's not because of the role. Edozi's played that role brilliantly all season long. Davies is not a left back. We've seen it against Fulham this season. We've seen it against Palace this season. First of all, that's my biggest problem. Why was he selected? He didn't need to be.
So that's the point, Dave. That is the point.
He was caught in no man's land. It's not because of Ange. It's because of him. He didn't know whether to go or whether he wanted to protect himself in behind because he doesn't have the legs to get back.
So that's my point, Dave, right? You know, why aren't we allowed to question Ange? Right? Why am I allowed to
you are allowed to. On this channel, we're allowed to analyse everything.
Why can't we say, look, Davies didn't have a horrific game. He had 2 great chances to score, right? He had the volley and he had the header. But saying that, I would have had I would have given Ange more credibility, personally, had he come out and played 3 at the back with Dragusin in the middle, put an extra man in the middle and said, you know what, we tried something new today. It didn't quite work. We changed it back. I would have more respect for him than just say, I ain't changing. This is what
I've got, Johnny.
Even though these players are not good enough for this system and will get exploited. And that's exactly what happens. Gary O'Neill did a fantastic job on Spurs. I think he's a top manager. But Why did you?
And he's
you
only been
made
there.
it
He's
easy for
been
him.
there less time than Ange has been there, for what it's worth.
Yeah, he made it easy.
But you know what?
Made it easy for him.
I'm very concerned. You talk about playing a back three at Tottenham. I don't think we're going to see that because I don't think Ange necessarily likes to.
Nobody liked it last year.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm not saying I'm particularly up for it, but what I'm saying is, I'm saying if you want a back three, I don't think we're going to see it either way, right? Even with our current scenario because of Ange's style. But my point is actually, if you actually analyze the games that Tottenham have played poorly in, and where the results haven't necessarily gone our way as much as, or they could have gone a different way, is when we play against teams that have a back three. When we play against teams that put out a back three with wide men, Brighton did it, Brentford did it, Everton did it, and Wolves have done it. And in none of those games, Tottenham have particularly performed very well. And I think if you look back, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I think if you go back into the first half of the season, you probably see the same consistency. I think that playing a back three is a bit of a template of how to play against Tottenham.
What I'm trying to say, Sean, is I'm just giving you an example, right? He could have done other things. You know, he could have put Dragusin in as centre back. He could have put Romero at right back. He could have done various things, right, that he could have done to try and mix it up, okay? Put Dragusin in the middle of the park. Do something. Play Mickey van der Ven at left back, right? Okay? There are other things that you could do. But to say, this is the point that really annoys me. Why just say, I ain't for changing, right? You know, this is a game, and I've used this analogy. I'm so sorry if I'm going to repeat myself, but if I'm a boxer and I'm fighting Claudio Lopez next month, and then my manager goes, my coach goes, "Oh, I'm going to show you the videos." No, I don't need to see the videos. I'm only interested in me, right? I don't care. I mean, he's a southpaw, Johnny. Right? I don't care. I don't care if he's a southpaw, but he's got a long. I don't care if he's got a long reach, right? You have to understand your opposition. And I'm not asking him to reinvent the wheel. I'm just saying, Ange, look, our two backs are out, okay? We're going to be exposed. Gary O'Neill will know it. He will.
Do you think he's not spending any time at all? Because if it's true that he's not spending any time or very, very little time looking at vulnerabilities, then that's a massive issue. But do we know
Is that
that
not what fans wanted, though? Fans, I remember a lot of fans last season saying we want a manager that focus on us and is not so focused heavily on the opposition.
It's a balance, though. Dave.
So
no, it wasn't that. It was
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Sean. You asked me something ages ago. You know, earlier on in the season when we were winning games, you know, and stuff like that, and when we ended up losing a couple or whatever. You asked me a question. You know, are fans guilty of changing their expectations, you know, from where they were at the start of this season and stuff like that, right? Is that why fans are annoyed that we're dropping out of a title race and stuff like that?
Right.
And it was a good question, and I went back and thought about it, you know, thought-provoking questions. I like them. But I'd also add a question now. Now that things are going wrong or things aren't going the way we like it, are fans guilty of changing their expectations of what they asked for in a manager from last season? I think they are, personally.
100% recency bias always infects. It's like,
is that true though?
It's not a recency bias. You could almost call it a recency virus. It infects you to the point where whatever's happening now at the club, if Tottenham had started off the season playing the way we're playing right now, and then in the second half of the season, as we ended up with the results and the performances that we got in the first half of the season, everybody would be going, wow, Ange Ball is taking shape. Yes, it took a little bit of time, but instead people are saying we're not, and I'm guilty of it. But you have to analyze what you analyze in isolation. And I think I'm more than happy to zoom out. I always say this. I'm so very patient, and I will give this whole process, this project, 18 months, right? He's got this season, and he's got next summer. He's got 3-4 windows, and then he's got the bulk of next season. But if by next season we are still getting pickpocketed and found out the way it feels like we are at the moment, then I think there's an issue there. At the moment, I think if you go back and ask Celtic fans, after 7 months, Celtic fans were having the same concerns, and by 18 months into the process, they were like, wow, this is unbelievable. And 7 months after he's left Celtic, they can't stop talking about him. They reminisce over Ange Ball. So I'm more than happy to give it all the time in the world to see it fall into place. And I think you're right, Dave, that Tottenham fans, like anyone in life, has an imbalance towards recency bias. What have you done for me lately? And lately, it hasn't been as good as it was at the very start. And Tottenham, for sure, Tottenham fans reset their expectations when we got into a title race, technically early doors, and then they were patient with the injury process. We were tolerant of that. But then since the injuries have kind of have been less of a factor, the form hasn't returned. It hasn't. And so the question has to be asked whether it's what's the gap now? Is the gap the fact that other teams are learning how to play against Ange ball quicker than Tottenham players are learning how to improve on their own version of Ange ball? And I think it's a lot of both.
Look, I'm a big guy on patterns, right? And I go back and I look at patterns and stuff like that. Jose Mourinho had his top of the league. When he had to start relying on squad players, when we got injuries, it completely fell off and he couldn't pick it back up again once players were coming back. Yeah. Same with Antonio Conte last year. Started off very well, very similar to Ange in terms of points and stuff like that. He had to come in, he got a load of injuries and stuff, had to rely on the squad players. Come the end of the season, players couldn't pick it back up again when they come back. And it's happening again under Ange. And the reason why is the players that when they do go out injured or whatever it may be, they leave the Tottenham in the title race, chasing down for the title. By the time they come back, we're out of both cups and we're only trying to vie for top 4. And it kills momentum for absolutely everybody. And if I was one of them players, it killed momentum as well for me if it was happening every single season like that. You know, that when I come back from an injury or whatever, all of a sudden, where I left the club is not where I've come back to. And it's a big momentum killer. It's a killer for absolutely everybody. And it's something we can never, ever get back. And we're starting to see the same under Ange now. We gave the excuses for injuries, players away on international duties. Now they're back. We can't pick it back up again. And that's because we're not challenging for what we were when they left the place.
For me, you know, I can't accept for myself personally, it's just about, you know, the last couple of results. Because if you remember, Sean, I've been, even on Devil's Advocate, we've been going on that something's not right, even when we're winning games. It's not like, oh, we're jumping on a bandwagon.
We don't dominate.
We've you know, I've highlighted what is wrong again and again and again. And, you know, I get a lot of abuse for it. But all I'm saying is I can see a weakness that's going to be exploited. And I think what happened was there was a naivety with some of the coaches as to how we were playing football, right? They have found a way to nullify what they've done. They found a way to nullify our attack, and they've found a way to exploit our weaknesses. And that's what they've done. And, you know, the first 10 games was a honeymoon period where people didn't quite understand how to play us. Then they found us out. You know, this is the Premier League. This is probably the home to some of the best coaches in world football. And if you think you're going to come in here and you're going to say, I'm Ange Postecoglou, that's how I play, I ain't changing, they're say, fine, don't change. We'll find a system, right? And they have found a system which nullifies us, whether it's that back three, whether it's allowing them to have the ball and make them play across the front line.
Tucking in narrow during the second half. Like for me, Tottenham have to be smarter on the pitch. Johnny, I love what you're saying there. And Dave, I completely agree with what you said earlier. I feel like in the Wolves game in isolation, just quickly to round off the topic about the actual game, I feel like in the second half, you go 1-1, right? And by the way, Kulusevski's, I watched it back because I was down the other end of the pitch. Unbelievable goal. I didn't see it. Unbelievable. The footwork and the early toe poke. That's the value that you have in him. And I do want to talk about a couple of players in isolation as well in a second, because I've got some, especially about Sonny.
One stat that I wanted to add to that, where I was going to finish. Sorry, Sean. It was just to say that, you know, Mickey van der Ven, Romero have been back now for a month. Okay, more or less a month. And we've conceded 1.51 goals per game, right? Which is outrageous.
Is that just since they're back, Johnny?
No. This is
okay. Across the board, okay.
Yeah, 1.51. No team has ever qualified for the Champions League from the Premier League with that stat. The nearest to that was Newcastle with 1.3. Okay, we're miles away from that. In fact, we're on course, I think, to concede something like 57 to 60 goals this season. And let's be serious. Have we improved our defence? Yeah. Is our keeper better? 100%, right? Are our backs better than they were last season? 100%. Are we happier with our centre-backs, with Mickey van der Ven and Romero? 100%. So we have the best defence we've had in a long time, yet we are conceding goals, 1.51 goals per game. It doesn't stack up. So I'm asking the question.
I actually pulled this stat up.
I'm asking the question, is it the tactics, or is it the players, or is it a combination of both? But something isn't right. It isn't right. I won't accept that, that's just Ange ball, right? It's not working. We've got a better defence than last season by a country mile, and yet it's not happening. And I think the system exposes the defence more than that's necessary. And with some tweaks to Ange ball, we can make ourselves less vulnerable. Sorry, I just needed to get that out.
No, that's absolutely fine, mate. It's absolutely fine. Now, I've got a couple of super chats, and it's a good segue into some of the next topics I want to talk about. I did actually have that particular tweet that you put in there, mate, ready to load up. But you said you said it, so it's perfect. A user with a super chat saying abracadabra. Let me pull this rabbit out of a hat. Oh no, it's a loss of 3 points. Never mind. Benny Kaufman, Benny boy, and he said, I need to order some new coffee from you, mate. So I'm going to reach out to you after the show. Shout out to you for your support. Whoop whoop. Member for 19 months. Appreciate you, my man. SOF over from America. How you doing, buddy? One of the smartest guys in the comment section. Really always appreciate your comments on the uploads I put in. I'm looking at the Arsenal game as a big moment in the season. If Spurs concede from the corners, lose, Arsenal stay in the title race, Spurs fall to 6th. I could see fans turn, win the game, keep fans on side. Do you know what, SOF? I think that there'll probably be a lot of twists and turns before that game that will shape a few things. But as it stands, if we were to be playing Arsenal next, for example, if we had 2 weeks until the Arsenal game, I personally think we will lose, because I think that our momentum going into it is terrible, and Arsenal are playing the best football of their season. And as much as it kills me to say it, this is a Tottenham show, but for what it's worth, Sean Butler TV is also streaming. By the way, guys, get over to Sean Butler TV. I'll put the link in a second. I need you to spend some time over there to get those watch hours up for me. And that's where we talk about all things, not just Tottenham. But I think that Arsenal have timed their kind of second half form really, really well. And maybe that is a little bit of an absolute, magical touch from Arteta, that they weren't playing particularly great in the first half of the season. Maybe they were keeping their stamina back, and now they're coming into some really tip-top form. And I think if Tottenham was to play Arsenal right now, I would be terrified going into it. I hate to say it, but I actually thought they were playing.
I actually thought, Sean, that Arsenal were playing better this season than last season, even in the early stages.
Because really? I didn't.
Because what I've been saying is they're not manic anymore. That manic pressing is more balanced between pragmatic and attacking, progressive and pragmatic. And
their defense has been absolutely sensational. Unbelievable. And the fact that Gabriel and Saliba can pop up with goals increasingly now. And when they're playing against low block teams, they can get a goal in the first 10 minutes, which completely destroys the likes of Palace or West Ham's chances, and they have to rethink. I'm not looking forward to playing Arsenal as it currently stands at all.
Look, that Arsenal game is not going to be easy. And I'll tell people why. You've got Newcastle, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and you probably have the rearranged Chelsea game thrown in there. You're talking about 5 massive games back to back to back to back. That is mentally draining, physically draining, and tough ask to ask the squad to go in there and, pick up results regularly in them games. It's going to be a tough ask. That Arsenal game might not go the way we want it. But just for the last part of the super chat where SOS says about Spurs fans, staying on side. Get some bloody cojones. Seriously. First sign of trouble, everyone's so quick to blow the place up and pull the trigger on the manager and get the next guy in.
Oh, yeah, none of that.
A biggest part of the problem is we haven't had a manager in the dugout for a full season since Pochettino. And any manager that comes in here is working with players from 3, 4, 5 different squads. Until the squad is his own, what do you expect him to do? You're going to get the fails, the highs and the lows. Emerson, not his signing. Davies, not his signing. You know, that had a massive impact on the game at the weekend. Can't attach that to Postecoglou. You got to give him
100%.
Second of all, on that, Arsenal fans wanted them out. Imagine the board listened to that. Would they be sitting in 2 title races back to back? No. Would Liverpool fans have went on and won a Champions League and Premier League and all the cups in club football if they didn't go through adversity with Klopp within the first season or that and stick with
it? And for Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson struggled at United early doors.
Early. And this
every single manager that's done very well over a period of time has struggled when they first come in. You have to back Ange. As a fan base, you have to back him, and as a board, you have to back him. Continue to give him what he wants, but you could still, like I say, this is an isolation.
I'm not saying you can't question him. I'm not saying you can't question him, Sean. You know me. I love questioning things. I think that's the spice of life. You know, you don't ask questions, you don't get answers, right? However. 100%. Seriously, and I never, ever go after the Spurs fan base or really say too much against them. But find your bloody cojones. You know, strap in, 13 big games to go. Sacking them ain't the answer. Get to the summer, see what we do then. But seriously, stop putting so much pressure on the guy.
Could you not see this happening? The thing is, Dave, we've been talking about this for weeks that we could see this was going to happen, right? It was only a matter of time. You know, let's be honest. Ansu Fati puts that ball in the net, right? A minute before Johnson scores. We're having a different conversation. We're talking about back-to-back defeats. You know, I mean, you know, we've got to call it as it is. It's not working at the moment. It doesn't mean sack the guy. We were toxic. Our football was shocking last season. We've definitely stepped up from last season, but you know, we had false sense of, you know, of realism, didn't we, with those first 10 games?
100%, guys, 100%. We've got a couple of other super chats, and then I want to pivot to some specifics for the second half of the show. We're not going to go for another hour, but
terrible, absolutely.
We are crap on set pieces since we let Gianni Vio go in 2023. Yeah. Like I say, I think if you look back, I don't think we conceded too many set pieces or too many goals from set pieces until all of a sudden Manchester City game, when the attention's been put on Vicario, and I think that's distracted us in a bunch of different ways, and now we're conceding goals from a whole bunch of different circumstances, which is a worry and something we need to absolutely figure out, because it's becoming a, you know, you can't concede 1.55 goals per game, Johnny, as you said, right? Bark orders Ange, says Mick Vickers. Yeah, listen, I'd like to see him. Look, he has an impact. Clearly, we start our games very well. First 10 minutes are usually ours. First 10 minutes of the second half are usually ours. So the last things that Ange says to our team are heard for about 10 minutes. So if there's a way that he can have, maybe he should do when there's a timeout, when there's a medical timeout, whatever, for the, you know, when someoe's down injured, everybody run over, get over, do what Arteta does, right? Get over and let Ange like reinvigorate them, like trigger that memory of what was said, because our best 10 minutes of the game, our best periods of the game are in the first 10 minutes of each half. Shout out to you, Mick. Also, shout out to Tom81, who I think has renewed his membership. I think it's a renewed membership. It could be a new membership. Either way, I appreciate your support, my man. Thank you very, very much indeed. Guys, I want to pivot now to a delicate topic.
I'll go first because I'll be quick.
We saw a lot of this on Twitter yesterday. In fact, hang on a second. How do I get rid of that? 1 second. It's all part of the same thing, right? So there's 3 different topics here I want to start with. Let's start with not this particular picture. The poor girl who's been absolutely unaware. A picture's taken of her. I'm sure she's aware now. Not this. This. Let's start with this. Tottenham Hotspur are set to take on Bayern Munich in a summer friendly in South Korea ahead of the next Premier League season. That's from Ali Gold. That came out about an hour before the show started. Obviously, South Korea is a massive money spinner for Tottenham. Pictures like this have been shared around Twitter, guys. We're going to sort of collab this all into one big conversation. I was at the game. I'll be honest, when I walked into the game, I was like, oh my God, there's so many Korean fans here today. And look, I love it. I've got absolutely no issues with it at all. I think it's awesome to see. Generally speaking, you know, at a Tottenham game, it's 99% men, 95% men. When the Korean contingent comes in, there's a lot more females that come in, and I absolutely adore seeing them because they're pretty, you know. And I'd rather see a Korean girl than
fickle
than a 65-year-old, you know, fat man slobbing beer down his chin outside the ground. I like to see what I like to see. So I've got absolutely no issue with it whatsoever. And Tottenham clearly make a lot of money out of it because every single one of these guys were pouring out. That the line for the club shop was unbelievable. Now, I forgot initially that the reason why there was such a massive influx of additional Korean fans was because of Hwang from Wolves being there. It made sense as soon as I saw the picture. But guys, there's been a huge debate about this all over Twitter. I'm gonna put my cards on the table right now. I haven't got any issue with it at all. I worry more about the damage to Tottenham's revenues after Sonny has retired, because I think revenues create opportunity. Opportunity creates success, or in an ideal world. So, you know, for me, it's not an issue, but for a lot of people, it is. Dave, I'll start with you. Any concerns with this, and what do you feel about this this friendly going on in Korea with a chance for Harry Kane to come back and play?
Hopefully we remind them why why you shouldn't have left in the first place. That'd be absolutely brilliant. I might even get over there and do a half and half Bayern and Tottenham jersey. You know, I love paying that much. I'm only messing. I won't. I'm not that sort of guy. But look, I do see a lot of being banded about on social media. A lot of the tourist fans, it's being called, you know, maybe being blamed for the atmosphere. Now, look, bit of a hypocrite because I only get over once or twice a year, right? I shouldn't really have an opinion on it. However, I do. Look, for me, I think it's an easy cop-out, an easy blame the likes of tourist fans for the atmosphere and stuff like that. At the end of the day, the majority of the tickets sold in that are to season ticket holders and people that go week in, week out. The club have also, since White Hart Lane, introduced a trumpet, introduced a drummer. You're short of introducing Johnny on the triangle there at the weekends. You know what I mean? So it's clear to see that there was problems with the atmosphere. Problems with the atmosphere before that, you know. So to blame tourist fans is an easy cop-out. At the end of the day, the way I see it is if you're there week in, week out, it's up to you to set the tone and everyone has to follow. And that's all I'm going to say.
The atmosphere has been terrible at Tottenham for a while. It was great in the first 8-9 games, but I don't know, since the Chelsea game, the atmosphere hasn't been spectacular until we get the winner. And then we start cheering after the whistle. But during the game, the atmosphere hasn't been great. And I don't put that down to an additional 10% of Korean fans at all in any way, shape, or form. Johnny, your thoughts?
I'm on my triangle. Listen, I think I was sat in the East Premium on Saturday, and I got to tell you, I got an unbelievable seat. I got an unbelievable view. Fantastic. Come out the lift, saw Howells and Paul Allen. But my God, there's no atmosphere there. It's like a wake, right? I was cursing. I was shouting. People looking at me. My son said, you know, but
there was no atmosphere in the South Stand, though, mate. To be entirely honest,
the South Stand was better than where I was sat. That's for sure. Listen, look, I hate 50-50, right? I hate 50-50 anything, right? If you come to a ground, the only people that should be buying 50-50 scarves are kids, you know, who are coming, you know, maybe under 10, 12 years of age, coming to their first game. Parents don't want to go into the club shop. I'm not sure how they've got a license to sell the scarves outside the shop. I'm surprised Daniel hasn't cottoned onto that one and got them rid. But I'm not.
I don't think the logos are accurate. That's why I think they're mimics.
But,
you know.
But the thing is, like, you would still try and push them on street vending. Anyway, I did a tweet which said, "What is worse, a 50-50 scarf or a 50-50 shirt?" I then got called a racist. I got called all sorts of names. All I did, I used the picture of the South Korean girl with a 50-50 Hyung song. Yeah, I used that one. What's worse, that was the question, the 21st century fans, what's worse, a 50-50 shirt or a 50-50 scarf? Well, I didn't expect it to provoke what came out. I have got no problem with Koreans, South Africans, Venezuelans, Africans, whoever who want to come to Tottenham. And I don't have any problem with it. I think it's great. Am I keen on Spurs going to South Korea? No. I'll tell you why. We need to grow the game. Our fan base is growing fastest in North America, due to the NFL and, you know, when they're playing Madden, because now we're called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You know, they're now watching more football on CBS. So they're now choosing a team, and Tottenham happens to be that team. Korea, we're already established there. Okay, it's a money maker. We're going out for AIA because part of our sponsorship. But as you quite rightly said, Sean, once the sun has set, or the sun has set on his career, our takings, our income is going to drop off a cliff. I was sat there waiting for you to turn up outside by the clock there on Saturday, and I was counting with my son. Look at this. If this was a shopping centre, you'd be rubbing your hands. They were coming out. They were queuing to get out.
They were spending fortunes.
They were queuing to get out. I saw, you know, families took a picture of a couple of kids with their shirts on. Look, I welcome it. The only thing that riles me, I've got to be honest with you, and it does pee me off, is the away games, right? It is so difficult to get an away ticket now. To go there and you arrive at the stadium in the away end and it's full of Koreans. I have an issue with that.
The problem with that, right? The problem with that
I have an issue because there's loyal fans, Sean, who really, really want to go. And, you know, we're warned that if you give your ticket to someone, you'll lose your ticket and you'll lose your season ticket and so on and so forth. But
yeah, but people sell it. People sell their tickets, right? So the only way, look, first and foremost, it's.
I don't care at home.
Yeah, so I don't care. I don't care either way. I honestly don't care either way. What I want is, if fans are willing to go and pay the money, then so be it. But what I don't want is the money is the corporate, whoever it is in the corporate or whoever it is for the away fan situation. You know, when you and I went to Luton, we were probably in the top. Well, I mean, I was gifted tickets by someone who has those tickets, right? But he could have sold those tickets for 500 quid each to a ticket tout, and then someone paid 700 quid for the tickets on the ticket tout website. He didn't. He gave them to me. So my issue is those people that are sat with enough loyalty points who then monetize it to pay off their season ticket, or the corporate. And I think it's a bigger issue with the corporate who get those tickets gifted by the various, you know, the people that sponsor the AIA or whoever else, right? They then sell those tickets because they don't want to go to Luton, they don't want to go to Newcastle. They'll sell those tickets to ticket touts, and the ticket touts will then profit off of it. That's a bigger issue for me. If you are a fan of Sonny or a fan of Tottenham and you're willing to pay 700 quid for a ticket, that's, you know, that I think that demonstrates your passion in and of itself to a degree. But for me, what I don't want to see happen is the ticket touts make their money, and that's where my frustration is with away fans. Now, I myself have participated in that disgrace for Arsenal. I paid 600 quid. I was so desperate to go to the Arsenal away game this season. I paid £600 for it, and it wasn't worth it in any way. And I felt a little bit dirty, but you know, it is what it is. But this happens all week in, week out. And this is a problem with the Tottenham Hotspur model of how you give away fan. It's a delicate balance, right? Because you do want to reward loyalty, but at the same time, they should have an element of the allocation that goes to a ballot to members.
This is what I've said. This is what I've said. You know, look, I have 300
less for corporates, points. More for fans.
Yeah. I have 300 loyalty points, okay, and I can't make a game. Okay, you know, I'll get a cup game, but very rarely. So I have to rely on going into the ballot from my premium seats in the East Stand. Okay, I get those in a ballot. we don't sell those on. I either go when my son or my son goes with a friend or what have you, right? But we always go. We don't sell. We never sell them on. But for me, it's galling that, you know, I've had friends who have said, look, come with us. You know, we got a ticket, and I'll go with them and I'll pay face value. But to get down there and see so many fans who have just got a ticket for that game, it's not right. I'm of the opinion that 80% of the tickets should go to the loyalty points, and then the balance of the 20 should go to Spurs fans, season ticket holders, right, who have applied for that game to go into a ballot. It's a fair way. Therefore, people.
I also, if you're going to give 80% to loyalty fans, then that 80%, those people have to go. You should be forced to show. You shouldn't be able to get 80% people getting the tickets and then handing them over to their mates. If you want the ticket, you have to go. I don't think you should be able to just sell them or give them or gift them too easily. Even though I've been a beneficiary of it, I don't think it's necessarily fair. I would wear that. Like, I don't have enough loyalty points to go to that many, to go to any
not for Luton. Certainly not for Luton.
Definitely not for Luton. But I would encourage a system where I think 65, 70% of the loyalty point system, but the other 35% should go in a ballot. So everyone that's a season ticket holder or a member or whatever else. And you know what? Doing that would encourage more people to become members, which in turn elevates the ability for them to make more revenue anyway. But I don't believe that there should be a system where you can have the tickets and then sell them or gift them to other people.
But you know what's happened? I'll tell you what's happened. In the first 2 seasons at the new stadium, first few seasons, we didn't have a problem ever getting a ticket for an away game, right? We got just about every one. Now, suddenly they're playing well. All of a sudden, the corporates are requesting them. And the only seats I'm getting now for away games, even on my premium seats now, are the games that no one wants to go to. You know, I got Burnley away, which was a great one. 8 hours there, 8 hours back. But, you know, it's harder and harder and harder, you know, to get these seats. So when you see the away fans and you haven't been successful, even paying thousands of pounds for a premium seat, and then you turn on the TV watching it at home and you see, you know, 200 Koreans or 100 Koreans stood there, I find it a bit upset. I don't care if about the home game. I really don't. There's a big enough stadium to handle it, you know?
Oh, listen, I'm okay with any colour, race or creed, as long as the ticket is legitimately theirs and they paid for it through the right mechanism. That's how I want to do it. Dave, unless you've got any final thoughts on it, mate, I want to pivot into the actual topic.
I'm a tourist fan, so you know, I don't have much to say on it. I'm a tourist fan myself.
No, but I think we're all in agreement that, like, I don't care what you look like, whether you're, you know, any race, color, creed, sex, gender, whatever you want. If you want to come and support Tottenham, absolutely do. Even if your main reason for coming is because you want to see your favorite player playing, I'm pretty sure that a lot of Tottenham fans became Tottenham fans because of people like Jurgen Klinsmann, because of Teddy Sheringham, because of, you know, Gareth Bale, whatever. I'm pretty sure we've got a lot of, you know, white male fans that live around the UK that chose Tottenham. Or because why does anyone pick a team? If you're not picking a team because your dad forced it on you, you're probably picking it because it's your local club or because they've been successful. And you know what successful teams require is brilliant players. Sonny's a brilliant player. I have absolutely no issue with the reasons why people want to come to Tottenham. I just have a problem with people profiting off of the system other than the football club. If the money that the football club generates goes back into the team. We'll leave that conversation there, guys.
What about the bottom fill glasses? The fans of the bottom fill.
The bottom fill glass is an absolute disgrace. I've got a whole thing I want to speak to Daniel Levy, Chief Commercial Officer, about how to increase your revenue by 30% by adding a few more bottom fill glass pumps and hiring a few more staff before the game. You would make a lot more money, I promise you. Anyway, guys, top 4. We spoke about the game. We spoke about Tottenham, our concerns. We've got a top 4 race. It's probably going to be between Villa, Tottenham, and Manchester United. Manchester United beat Luton 2-1. away at Luton. They got 2 early goals. Hoyland's now got 7 goals in 6 games, I think it is. He's starting to turn the tide for them. I don't think Luton. I think Luton were unlucky on the day for what it's worth. And I think the tale of Manchester United's season has been that they played badly but got the job done. Aston Villa started the season absolutely phenomenally well. They've gone through a little bit of a wobbly spell, but they got the job done away at Fulham. Tottenham didn't. And we had an 11-point lead over Manchester United not that long ago. They're now 3 points behind us. Lads, top 4. How's it going to go? Where's it going to go? Dave, I'll start with you.
First of all, that highlights the quality of our squad players. So I don't want to see any debates over it in the summer. Get them gone. But look, when it comes to top 4, I'll be brutally honest. I'm as optimistic as probably anybody out there. But I feel like at the weekend was a proper dagger to the top 4 hopes. You look at it, you got Palace, new manager bounce. Look how we react when we get new managers in here. We get that initial reaction. I'm worried about that game. Then you've got Villa. For me, you got to take 6 points there to give yourself a chance. But the period I'm almost worried about is Newcastle, City, Arsenal, Liverpool, with probably Chelsea thrown in back-to-back. Are we going to win enough games to be able to get top 4? I'm not quite so sure, you know. I'm not quite so sure. I think the game at the weekend was a huge dagger blow. The only thing that sort of makes me hold on a bit of hope, we haven't been beaten by any of the top sort of teams in the country this season, bar City in the FA Cup, you know. But we took points away at the Emirates, you know. We dealt with Liverpool okay because it suits us playing against top teams because they leave that space in behind for us to be able to exploit that high line. So that's the only thing that I'm holding on to. But I do think the weekend was a proper dagger to the top 4 hopes, to be brutally honest.
Do you think, Dave, just quickly before I bring Johnny in, do you think that, what is it you're seeing from Manchester United that gives you any kind of reassurance that they're not going to get smashed? I think every single game that they look absolutely bang average. You know,
they
and
do look average.
I sit there and think, look, Tottenham aren't playing great. But Tottenham can still play better. Manchester United are playing terribly. Like, are we worrying about a bang average team, or is there something more to it?
Look, Ten Hag did say at Man United, judge me when I get my players back from injuries, and they're coming back from injuries and they're starting to pick up results. And just historically, United, they always usually do well towards the end of the season. They, you know, as a club, they understand it's the business end. I'm not sitting here saying they're going to get top 4, but you know, you've got Villa in the mix as well. You know, are we gonna catch them either? You know, for me, I think you might see some, topsy-turvy up between when we come into them period of 4 to 5 games where they're all big games back to back. But are we going to have enough points on the board to give us that cushion if results in that period don't go right? I'm not quite so sure. That's why I think the Wolves game was absolutely crucial. That's why I think losing drawing the Everton game came back to kill us. For me, it was about getting a points buffer before them big games back to back come around. And I just don't think we've got that, and that concerns me.
Johnny, we spoke about this last week. 8 wins, 24 points would have taken us to 71. I think we all agreed that Wolves was a banker, a must win.
Well, I never thought it was a banker. I thought it was a must win.
Sorry, a must win, not a banker.
I was
a must
seriously
win.
worried about it because they
yeah.
cost us. You know, yeah. I had serious concerns before the game. Look, we have got Villa away, we've got Newcastle away, we've got Liverpool away, we got Chelsea away. We got Arsenal at home and we got City at home. Our fixtures are by far the hardest of any of the teams around us. By far. Okay. Man United, you know, they haven't been great, but, you know, they've robbed games. I mean, I thought they got away with one against Luton on the weekend, the other night. They got away with one twice in games against Wolves. You know, we got done by Wolves twice. Wolves were robbed by Manchester United twice. I always forget that Anana game. You remember when he came out and punched and cleared out two Wolves players in the box, and somehow it wasn't a penalty. I like to see what happens this part of the season, whether that happened. I think Man United, as well as they're not being fluid, they're managing to find something to win the game. They got better strength in depth than us by any stretch of the imagination. And the interesting thing is, someone like Mainu, they didn't know Mainu was going to come out and be this player. They can say all they like. If they thought he was going to come out, they wouldn't have been buying Amrabat, right, and trying to buy more covers and more midfielders and more players. But, you know, fair dues. When the injury crisis hit, he gave Mainu a chance, something Ange isn't prepared to do. I don't think Ange is ever going to be prepared to give our youth a chance. I think that Villa have just lost. Is it Diego Carlos they've lost?
They also lost. They also lost. Who's the player up front in the midfield?
Watkins,
the young fella.
Ramsey.
Oh, Ramsey. That's it. Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I'm looking at the fixtures, Sean, and they don't look clever for us. They really don't look clever. If we lose to Villa, I think we are. I can't see us getting top 4. The coefficient, if it plays out, the coefficient, we should be there or thereabouts for the 5th place. But I've got to be honest with you, unless something happens to one of those other teams, I mean, if we carry on the way we're going, we should be looking overhead behind our backs at Newcastle, the way things are going. But that's a lot.
They've got a long way to go to catch up.
They have. But you know, we got Newcastle away, Villa away, Liverpool away, City at home, Arsenal at home. That's some really tough fixtures. Leaves us what? That's what, 5, 6 tough fixtures. How many does that leave us?
Yeah, I'll get the fixtures up right now. Hang on.
I think we've 13 games left.
13 games. So we've got to basically win 7.
Yeah, the 2 easiest games of the season for Tottenham are the last 2 games when it might be dead rubbers. Burnley at home and Sheffield United away.
Yeah, so, go all Spursy, you know?
Yeah, well, you'd hope there'd be 6 points there, but by that point, they might be absolutely shattered. Let's have a look. Let me get them up.
How can we be shattered?
Yeah, hang on.
The least amount of games in 19 years for Tottenham this season. Let's have a look.
So we got Palace next. And Palace, by the way, obviously, you must have seen it. Oliver Glasner is now their manager, so they're going to have a new manager bounce. Palace won last night, didn't they, against Everton, I think.
Fulham we struggle against for some unknown reason. We win.
Yeah, Aston Villa away is going to be a very, very difficult game.
Yeah,
you'd hope that you got 3 points against Palace because they, even with a new manager, they still haven't got that much firepower because of the injuries. Villa, you'd probably say, if you're honest, unlikely. Fulham, not sure. Luton, you'd hope, right? So there's 6 points. You're trying to find 20. You're trying to find 24 points or there's 6.
We need 8 wins. 8 wins. So that's
West Ham away. Forget it. Tottenham at home. You'd hope
4.
There's 3 wins.
4.
Newcastle away. Doubtful. Tottenham at home. Doubtful. Tottenham at home against Arsenal. Doubtful. Liverpool away. Doubtful. I think you can find 5 wins fairly easily, right? Tottenham, Burnley, Sheffield United, Forest, Luton, and Palace. There's the 5 wins, and then maybe 6 at Fulham.
Chelsea away?
Don't think so. So if you get 6 wins, that's 18 points.
Oh, I forgot Chelsea away. I forgot to add Chelsea away. Yeah.
People are saying Villa, we say we win. I don't know. I think we'll finish the season on 67 points, which is never going to be enough for a top 4 finish.
I think we'll be in Europa League or Europa Conference personally, as it stands.
Is that a problem? Would you be okay with Europa League for next season, given where we are?
Look, quickly
from the drop off, no. The drop off, no. If you'd have offered it to me at the start of the season,
I'd have taken 6 at the start of the season.
I probably would have taken it. Yeah. I said 5th or 6th at the start of the season. So to finish 7th, yeah, Europa League, I would be content with. It's not what I want.
And on that, I want to actually Tottenham to go for it. I don't want to hear anything from the fan base. Oh, it's a Mickey Mouse Cup, this, that, and the other. I'll be brutally honest. this season has been completely boring during the week. I have nothing to do. I don't want to watch Premier League teams. I don't want to watch Europe because we're not in it. So I want European football back. And it's that simple. I don't care whether it's the UEFA Cup, the Europa Conference League, or whether it's one I make up myself. I do not care. I want European football at some cost. This season has been boring, no European football during the week.
But do you think, Dave, that what's better in the grand scheme of things for Tottenham, given the fact that this season is the kind of building blocks? Like I say, I'm willing to give everything. You still got to pick up the things that you see as problems, but you can still give patience and go, we'll see what happens. For me, at the moment, my major concerns are that we have certain players that don't have the stamina to get through the games, and that we even during the games we're only playing in phases, and those phases aren't long enough and consistent enough. So I have worries about our stamina, generally speaking. Now, you'd hope that can be fixed with a bit more time and patience and a bit more like over the summer or whatever else. However, if you go and finish 5th or 4th and you qualify in the Champions League, then depending on who you get, and if you do finish 4th or 5th, I think you're gonna have to qualify. Right? If you finish 5th, I think you'll qualify, which will put you in Group 4, which will mean that you will, in the qualifying, in like the actual group stages, if you do get through to it, you'll be playing against one of, Real Madrid, the Bayern Munich.
How exciting!
Yeah, very exciting, but a huge distraction and a huge heavyweight of. It's not like Arsenal last season when they were playing in the Europa League. We played 2 games a week. Well, you didn't really. You played your B team because you were playing against Vilnius in Slovenia on a Thursday night. Not the end of the world, right? Whereas Newcastle United is a better example. They had to face Milan and PSG and whoever the third team was, I forget. And obviously their season has struggled as a consequence. Obviously they've had terrible injuries as well, but they had to sort of dabble on an additional front against the very best during the group stages. I don't necessarily know if Tottenham being in the Champions League for this stage of our project is as clever as being in the Europa League.
Look, that's probably assuming that we're going to go up and win the Europa League or go and get to a final, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes it worthwhile. Look, for me, I'll be brutally honest. I just want to get back into the Champions League. The format has completely changed next season.
Yeah.
It's more of a league format.
That's a good point.
8 games.
Big teams and crap teams. Yeah, it's 8 games.
That's
now,
actually a complete. So you know what? I'm actually having said that, I'm probably completely wrong in talking about the whole.
I want to be in
Group 4.
I want to be.
You're probably right. Yeah.
The most important thing is if we're going into European football, I want to come out the summer transfer window with a squad able to compete on 4 fronts, because the squad is our biggest problem. I highlighted earlier on. Anytime they come in, they kill all momentum around the club. The management, the rest of the players that have gone out injured from the first 11, the fan base, everything. They kill it all. So go and build a squad that's capable of compete on all 4 fronts. You look at Man City this year. Okay, they've missed De Bruyne and Haaland, but their squad was able to keep them in the title race until they come back. They come back, they sprinkle the magic, they'll probably go and get over the line. So for me, if we're going to go into Europe, you build that squad out. All I want to see, Davies, having to come in at left back against a Bayern Munich. I don't want to see it anymore. I want a proper squad to be able to go and complete. And on the basis of that, then, you should be okay. You shouldn't have to worry about fatigue. And we shouldn't be looking at as backup players either. Should be looking at as rotational players. If you take one out, you bring the next guy in, and it shouldn't be so far of a drop-off in quality. Get that, we'll be fine. We'll be able to handle any competition. Problem is, in the last few years, we've gone to make changes for cup games, and we go out in the first round. We're going out to Middlesbrough. We're going out to crap teams.
Yeah, this is the problem for me.
What is
this, Johnny?
man?
This is from about half an hour ago. Sorry, Mick, I didn't see it when he first came in, so I'm not
sure what he means.
I'm not sure what we said back in the time. I do apologize.
I think could get Champions League if City go on and win it. I think if one of the English teams go on and win it, is what he's alluding to.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. I appreciate the super chat, Mick. Sorry, mate. It was about half an hour ago. I didn't see it come through, mate. I've just seen it now, but I appreciate it anyway. Jory's also saying no Champions League. He won't survive a bad start to next season. Johnny, listen, I've just heard Dave's had he wants the Champions League. I love playing against the best teams. I love it. Even if it means we don't do that well, I'd much rather see Tottenham play PSG, Real Madrid, and a Benfica than play an AEK Athens, Slavia Prague, and a Basel. I don't know if you agree. Jory says he does. Jory doesn't want it. Jory doesn't want the Champions League. Do you, Johnny?
I love I love those away games, those trips. You know, to the
anywhere. Would you go anywhere? Would you come to me to the arse end of Albania next season, Johnny?
Albania, yeah.
I'd love it.
No problem. We'll go by donkey. No, listen, I'd go anywhere if I can get a ticket. I've been to some interesting grounds. I've been to the big stadiums. If they're special, that having a drink in the city centre with all the Spurs.
It's amazing.
Being set upon by dirty Italians trying to.
Well, hold up. Don't stop. Careful.
No, listen.
Careful, Johnny.
The only place I ever had any trouble is in Italy. I've got to be honest with you. No, nowhere else. For some unknown reason, the culture's a little bit different. No, but it's special.
Only in the ultras. The average Italian is a wonderful person, wonderful human being.
I love Italian food. I love spaghetti. I love Italian people. I go there often on my holidays. So
we love it. We love Italy. Just the ultras that throw chairs at people.
The ultras is a bit frightening.
We're worried about.
And the police can be very, very, very heavy-handed. Now, I love the away games, and it's special. Would I rather be going to AC Milan, Inter Milan, Real Madrid? Yes. Rather than Vilnius FC? Yes. What I would say is, I think it's crucial to be in Europe. And if we're in Europa League, I won't whine and cringe and moan, because I feel that when we're playing these lesser teams, I'd like to think that for once ANGE will utilise his squad and potentially play the likes of Phillips, Devine, and some of the players who are in our squad, because I'm seriously concerned that some of these might go. I come with no expectations. My expectations grew when we were, unbeaten after 10 games. A reality check was in for me a few games ago. I know it's only come to roost since we lost on the weekend. For me, I could see a problem there that was being masked with a bit of duct tape. But the wound is open. The wound is open now. He's got 2 weeks to try and fix it. I think failure.
Everyone's going to be back, right? Porro's going to be back. Udogi's going to be back. Manor Solomon might even have a sniff of being ready. Lo Celso's ready. There really isn't anybody apart from Ryan Sessegnon that's going to not be fit, and who cares about him anyway? With all due respect, so after that, there's no excuses, is there? You've got 2 weeks now. There's no international break. You have 2 weeks with a fully fit squad.
Yeah,
there's no excuses left for a strong finish to the season, right, John?
No, I don't think there is an excuse. I think 6 is acceptable. Not what I want, but 6th is acceptable. Europa League. 7th for me is unacceptable and a real tailing off of
from a good start
where we were. Yeah, I think, is it much better than what we did last year? We finished 8th.
Let me ask you this:
been invested. It's a better squad. It's a better, it's a better squad. Apart from Kane, it's a better squad.
And he's a massive, Harry Kane is a massive miss. Just let me bring in Cooper Super Chat here. I'll bet you didn't expect me to say this, Sean, but I want top 4 for the cash. We spent well last summer. I'm hopeful we do again. Appreciate you, Cooper. Good to see you, man. I'd love to catch up with you, mate. I'd love to bring you back on the channel, mate. So I'll text you after the show. I didn't expect you to say this, mate. I've always, you've always been someone who doesn't really care about that kind of financial side of football, and you want good football and stuff. But yeah, I think if Tottenham are going to create a squad that's capable of doing it on an additional front next season, Dave, then, and this is where I want to take the last sort of segment of the show, guys. The last 15 minutes, if you've got time, is as always the kind of updated thoughts from you two on what's necessary as we go forward. And finishing top 4 does give you an extra circa 75, 80 million quid. I'm guessing that if you qualify for the Champions League, because there's additional games in the group stage. I haven't seen the financial
more money
layout of it yet, but I'm guessing because you get paid like, I think it's like 1.75 million for every win. And in the kind of new format of the group stages, which is like a mini league, you're playing more games. Therefore, you have the opportunity to make more money. So I'm guessing that there'll be 75 million available if you were to qualify and get into the group stages. And then obviously if you go deeper, more. Is that what's going to be necessary, Dave, to make the difference? And if so, where are we? What do you think is necessary? Is it a 6, a Gomez? Would you like a Gomez from Wolves? Would you like someone like him? And what about the wingers? I think that's my main concerns, and maybe fullbacks. But let me hear your thoughts.
Look, for me, I definitely think we need a backup to Destiny Adoji. That's glaringly obvious. You know, it's too far of a drop-off. So that's got to be first in the door. Despite what people think, I'm actually okay with Emerson. I think defensively he's grand. I just think his problem on the ball is if he done it more simple. 1 touch, move the ball on instead of taking 2, 3 touches and inviting pressure on himself. So I'm okay with that. I do have a feeling that Ashley Phillips will come in next season and be a part of the squad. He's absolutely been brilliant out at Plymouth. As everyone knows, I do the weekly loan updates, keeping an eye on what's going on there.
Love watching them, by the way. Yeah.
But thank you. The guy Ian Foster is absolutely raving about him. And their manager.
Raving about who?
Phillips. He's absolutely raving about him. He loves him. But I think defensively...
Just quickly, guys. Sorry, Dave, 1 second. Just quickly, guys. If you are in... I'm sure I'm going to be plugging both channels now, but if you haven't seen Dave's channel is brilliant for everything, but his Loan Watch updates are fantastic. I dial in every Monday afternoon. So get over to the Irish Hotspur. The link is in the description. Johnny's link is coming very soon for all of his socials as well. Carry on, Dave, with your analysis.
No, I appreciate that, lad, because they actually take me half of a Sunday to do. So I really do appreciate that from you, my man.
Oh, I love it.
Look, I definitely think left back is must. I think probably another centre back if you want to be really picky. Going into midfield, you know what, Sean? Over the summer, you highlighted number 6 an awful lot. And I sort of disagreed with it to a certain extent. However,
Monster number 6 was my catchphrase in the summer.
Yeah, you were always on it. I'm going to give you credit on that. But I have changed my opinion a little. I look at Basuma. I think he's always going to be prone to errors. You know, and I think the errors that he makes overshadow some of the good that he does. I don't think he's 100% reliable. Bentancur, I think he'd be better off used as competing with Papa Matasar rather than maybe in that number 6. So for me, I think this system requires a big number 6, big money being spent on that. Someone that can, go and win you the ball and stop those being hit on the counter a lot, but also someone that's very good on the ball. I feel like with Basuma and Bentancur, whoever plays in that number 6, they're the main reason why the play is slowed down an awful lot. Because they take way too many touches on it. You watch Højbjerg when he comes in, 1 touch, bang. You look back against Liverpool. I don't think many people realise this. He took off Basuma because he started slowing the play down when they were down to 9 men. He brought on Højbjerg. Højbjerg got the ball, 1 touch, put it forward. We went on and got the winner that day. You need that sort of number 6 in possession there. You look at Declan Rice, how he's elevated his game since going to Arsenal. He's now as good on the ball as he is good defensively for them. You need someone like that. I think Alfie Devine, I think now that he's playing number 10 in Plymouth, could come in and be the understudy to Maddison next season. But for me, I think the rest of the money has to be spent on that forward line. I think you've got options. You either don't bring in a striker and you use Son and Richarlison to compete, and you go out and spend money on wingers like a Pedro Neto and people like that who can come in here and do the job, or you buy one winger and you buy a world-class striker for me. But that's the areas I would be focusing on this summer to really fill out the squad so that we can actually go into a season and proper have a go on all 4 fronts.
Vuskovic, by the way, won't be coming till 2025. Yeah.
It's coming next January, right?
Oh, January, yeah.
January next year.
January. So, I think they might delay it till the summer, but it might be January 2020.
But he won't be ready anyway. He'll be loaned out. No. We won't see him for 2 years, two and a half years. But Phillips.
A lot of centre backs. We're collecting a lot of centre backs. We've got, you got Phillips, you got Dorrington, you got Vuskovic, Phillips, Dragusin, Mickey van der Ven. They're all very, very young.
Yeah, but here's the question for you, Johnny. I will let you answer about the question I already asked Dave. I want you to go into that as well. But before we do that, let me just quickly get through a couple of super chats. 6th will be a huge disappointment, says Mr. Sinclair. D. Sinclair. Let us know your first name because D. Sinclair seems too
Dave?
formal. Is it Dave? I reckon it's Dave, but let me know.
I hope it is.
Darius?
Yeah, Dave, Darius, Dean, Dion, Daniel. Yeah, let us know what your first name is. I always have the response. Oh, Mr. Sinclair. Sounds
Doobie
weird.
Sinclair.
Come in with the second one as
Doogie Sinclair.
he was the Dougie. Yeah, he wants to come in with a goalkeeper, a right back. I guess that's a goalkeeper to replace Foster, who's injured again. Poor bloke. Oh, and that's another problem, isn't it? If something happens to Vicario, gee whiz. Right back, a left back, a DM, a left wing, a right wing, and a centre forward. I think you're right there, mate. I think a 6 is so. I've said it, and Dave acknowledged I said it. I think a 6 is so important alongside everything else. Johnny.
Yeah.
Just quickly, before you come into your answer on what we need, is there any issue, the Don Sinclair, yeah, is there any issue, mate, with the fact that we have reduced our average age of our squad from 27.5 to 24.5? You know, we were talking earlier on about the lack of leadership on the field. Is that a consequence of bringing in so many young players and the only older players that we have left are Sonny, who, let's be honest, whilst he's a brilliant player, it's a bit of a kind of a joker. He's a fun-loving guy. He's not really like a kind of, you know, he's still a kid kind of maybe in a 30-year-old's body. His best mate is Pat Sarr, you know, and they're both like kind of jovial lads or whatever. Like Maddison, he's one of the older players on the team, but he's also a lad. I just wonder whether there's a lack of leadership that comes with this reduction in age, and if that's an issue for us on the pitch.
I totally agree. I've said this all along. You know, if Ange isn't going to speak out and he's leaving it to them on the pitch, great. So who's leading them on the pitch? I don't see anyone firing anybody up. I don't see anyone walking around giving anyone a bollocking, a kick up the arse. I don't see, you know, I'm not expecting a Roy Keane, but I'm expecting some fire in the belly. For me, I would have a 6. That's why I know he's older. He's 27 years of age, but I would sell some players and buy Paulinho, because if you want a player that will give you everything you need, maturity, leadership, goals, and the ability to break down just about every single challenge, read the ball, reading the game. He's got it all, right? We talk about, oh, he's 27. Well, a player like that should be able to play till he's 34, 35, right? You know, okay, he's not 21 and not 22, but we need a balance. So for me, if I'm going for a 6, I'm going for a Paulinho, because I know he's going to give me absolutely everything I need. He's not going to need any time settling in. He's good enough. We 100%, I mean, I've been going on about this issue. Why have we not got left back? I said that it's a huge mistake at the beginning of the season to let Reguilon go, because I felt that he had to be there. Whatever you may think of him, he needs to be the backup, because he's he's better in this system, I believe, than Davis and Sessegnon. And for him to then go off to Brentford, I think it's nonsensical. What happens if we get an injury? And look what's happened. It's come to pass. It's not a surprise, just the same as getting rid of Sanchez and, you know, not expecting us to have injuries. You know, get rid of Sanchez, fine, but have a replacement. So,
use the youth players that have been there, right, Johnny?
Correct. I mean, look, Santiago, he's not going to get a chance, right? Why not? Well,
Scored a cracker on Saturday, though. By the way,
I mean, look, if our wingers aren't performing, I mean, listen, let's be honest. If we buy more wing, we'll have more wingers than Nando's. But we need to address the situation. I don't think we need wingers. I think what we need is players that are going to take on teams and attack them. Because look, let's be honest. If you go at a player on the wing, take him on. So what? He brings you down. Free kick, dangerous position, whip a ball in. I just don't see any of that. So Pedro Neto, you know, 9 assists this season, and he's been out injured for God knows how many games. Yeah. I just feel we need that jinking, attacking winger who's not afraid, unlike Brendan Johnson, to take on his man and have a go. We need a backup striker, not a replacement striker for Richarlison, a backup, right? we've had this discussion. If you do sell Richarlison, right, and you get 50 million,
you want to keep Richarlison, don't you? You've got
no.
some...
What I was going to say was, if you get rid of Richarlison for 50 million, tell me where you're going to get Solanke or another player for 50 million.
You still need two options,
right? Yeah, we need two options. Therefore, we have to keep Richie, whatever people think of him or whatever, right? And we need to buy another top striker because we're going to be in Europe, and God forbid, okay, whatever anyone may think out there, if Richarlison gets injured and you've only got one striker, I don't want to play the whole season with a 32-year-old Son up front in the middle as our option. So for me, it's a left back, a centre back, another creative midfielder if you're selling Gio, because we know Maddison will be injured and he definitely can't play a whole Premier League season, let alone a European season, and a striker. So that's, I'll go through that again. It's left back, number 6, creative midfielder, and a striker and a winger. Whether it be
only one winger.
Well, depending on the money, but we definitely need and I'm not just talking a guy who crosses the ball. I need a guy who's going to attack and go at players, whether it's an Anthony Gordon type, whether it's, I mean, I got to tell you, I remember watching, I really liked Anthony Gordon. I remember last season, Everton came to us and we absolutely steamrolled Everton. But there was one player that stood out the entire game on their side. It was Anthony Gordon. He did not stop running at us. He did not stop causing trouble. And his commitment and his fire in his belly, I loved it because they were getting hammered. But he never gave up. And there's something about that. It's like when I saw Ollie Watkins play for Brentford. He used to come off the pitch fuming, right? You know, working his backside off. There aren't a lot of players like that. I think Spurs, I can see Spurs going for a Solanke type, to be honest with you. A tap in, because that's what Ange wants. Ball in, whip it in, tap in. And that's a Solanke.
I don't mind Dominic Solanke. I think people that don't like him, I think they're sleeping on him. This guy has improved everywhere he's gone. I think Bournemouth will be will make a lot of money, even though he's not homegrown to them. He's a homegrown player, but he's not come through their academy.
What are they going to want though? 70 mil? Who's going to pay that?
I don't think I think that they're the inflation. That balloon's going to come out of the market. I just feel like he's an example of a player who he's not actually homegrown, but almost counts as though it's a free hit on their books because he's been with them for 4 years and he's even extended his contract. And so the amortization period has been stretched out so long that it's irrelevant on their books. So if they sell him for 50 million, it almost counts as pure profit. And I think they'll take the money.
50? Do you think they'll ask for 50?
Yeah.
Is he worth 50?
Yeah.
I would say it's his best goal scoring season today. I'd be very hesitant to pay it.
He's done it. He's done it in the Premier League, though. You know.
He scored goals, but he hasn't scored them at this rate.
No, not this rate. I'd be happy to pay sort of like 35 million.
You won't get him for 35 million.
No. Plus, you know, if he's scoring the goals, right?
Some hefty add-ons, But he won't satisfy Tottenham fans. Tottenham fans want someone to replace Harry Kane that is a Harry Kane level or close to a Harry Kane. They want a Dusan Vlahovic because Vlahovic comes with a big reputation, but actually Vlahovic hasn't done it in the Premier League. He's barely done it at Juve. He's had a decent season at Juve, but not a great one. But it's taken him 2 years there. At Fiorentina, when he was a big fish in a small pond, he smashed it. And I'm not saying that I don't like Vlahovic. I do like him, and I do think he'll do well. But he is the name. He comes with a big name because he comes from a big team. Just like Gleison Bremer, again, using Juve as the example, I'm not sure Gleison Bremer would have been the right centre-back if we bought him this summer. If we bought him in the Conte system, I think Conte would still be at Tottenham because he would have replaced Eric Dyer in the back three and would have been the absolute difference. And I think that we would have gone on a whole different trajectory. He would have been a sliding doors moment sort of transfer for Tottenham. Had we got him, we didn't. But he comes with a big reputation because he comes from a big club and he's got a big name and he's got a big nationality behind him, all that kind of jazz. And I think that Vlahovic has all the same kind of hallmarks of that sort of scenario. But Dominic Solanke is not going to satisfy a Tottenham fan. Tottenham fans will want a big name, and I don't know where you go to find a big name striker.
We'll end up getting Rooney, and the fans will get a hard on for Rooney because
Rooney Bargy.
I'd love him.
Yeah,
the Swedish
see,
mafia, the Swedish
I know
house
him
mafia
well.
are coming to Tottenham.
I know him very well, right? But I found it very interesting that in the game against Man City, not only did they put him on the bench, they never gave him a minute, which seemed very strange. Whether they're trying to protect him or but I think he'll get sold in the summer. Will that mean we got another young kid up front?
Is this someone that you know? When you say you know him very well, is this because
He had a trial at Tottenham when he was a kid?
I know him through being alerted to him.
He had a trial at Tottenham when he was a kid, didn't he? He speaks about that himself. So
yeah.
Tottenham have a long outstanding.
He even said a while ago. He said the idea of coming back to the idea of playing alongside Kulusevski and
the
Swedish house mafia. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
It'd be like ABBA.
Listen, I'm starting Spurs Talk Show Sweden. There's a new channel that's coming out. Unfortunately,
put the birdie in the pot.
Jürgen Glurgen,
Scandinavian Sean.
Listen, we could do a Tottenham pre-season tour over in Stockholm. I'll be all about that. I'll be all about that. Listen, if we get in Onion Bargy and we get in Bergvall, and all of a sudden outside the ground before Tottenham games, there's 1,000 Swedish girls walking around. I'll get there at 7:30 in the morning and soak up the atmosphere. Yeah, the local Tottenham economy will absolutely balloon because everyone wants to be there to soak up the atmosphere with the Swedish girls.
And you'll be watching the game at the IKEA Stadium.
Come on, the Bargy. Up the Bargy.
Up the Bargy. I've got a couple of super chats I want to just finish off with before we go. Actually, it's just one super chat. Jory back in. What's happening, Jozza? He says, for your information, I do want Champions League. Ange will be under a lot of pressure if we don't get Champions League in terms of spending, leave some money on a new offensive coach as well. Yeah, listen,
Ange got rid of Viola. Ange got rid of him. He didn't like him. They didn't
on that, though, at Celtic, he did bring in Harry Kewell and a couple of other people end up to work with their forward line not too long after he got his foot in the door. And it could be something that, like Jerry's alluding to, you might see happen over the summer where you might get a coach to come in. I remember if you go and listen to Harry Kewell, he speaks about it. And, he says he had to come in and train the wingers to ride the challenges and keep going with the ball rather than going down and looking to take a free kick at every opportunity. So I reckon you might see something very similar over the course of the summer where you might get someone that Ange Postecoglou really likes to come in and work specifically with the wingers on what he wants from them and stuff like that. He did do it at Celtic, so I reckon he might do it at Tottenham.
100%. Just quickly, last thing I want to say before we finish off is I'm not in any way prejudicial. I am very much okay with Swedish girls turning up or Korean girls turning up, or if we sign someone from Bangkok in Thailand or Australia, I don't mind. As long as there's a higher propensity of females at the stadium before the game, then weirdo Sean will be out there drinking the what's that new have you seen those
that you had on the weekend?
Yeah, what they're called
the Jamaican drink. What was
the Jamaican mulled wine, whatever it is that's in those little glass bottles. They are absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love them.
One now.
Has anyone tried what them South American players are walking around drinking lately? What's it called?
Matcha.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's supposed to be it's a stimulation drink. They all drink it.
They all drink the matcha.
No, listen, I'm on board the Magnum. The Magnum is sensational. A couple of those. I park up my car, I drink one of those, and I'm like, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I've got my camera out. Everyone around me is going, what an absolute loser. I don't care because I'm on the Magnums.
Just to clear it up.
Dating as a new channel.
Yeah, just to clear it up, that Sean is all over the Swedes and he has no interest in turnips, for clarity. None at all.
Lads, wonderful show as always. We're going to round it off. Dave, what's coming up on the Irish Hotspur, my man? Let me pull the chat up for you. Here we go.
Yeah, look, first of all, there's a few complaints. Last week, it wasn't much of a devil's advocate. Well, you certainly got it this week, so I don't want to hear any complaints in the comment section about that. But look, if you guys do like my input on what I have to say, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. Like I said, I've got a loan report up there every Monday. Comes out about how our players are getting on. Have a look at that, and then I'll make the rest of the week up as I go along. So, yeah, get over and subscribe to the Irish Hotspur. Thanks very much for having me. Really enjoy this show, guys. It's one of my favorites every single week, if not the favorite, but don't tell anyone. And all you guys that are tuning in, thank you very much. Your support from them when we started this to now is absolutely insane. So thank you very much.
It really is, guys. Listen, if you do love Dave, what Dave's got to say, and I know so many of you do, all of you do, then if you haven't already, then hit that link. It's up on the screen right now. And if you're on the chat, just look up 10 comments and you'll see it. Smash a little subscribe for him. And then we've got my man Johnny, who still hasn't got his own channel, absolutely needs one. And when he does, I'll be able to support him grow his channel as well. But until then, he is available on Twitter and on other social media. But Twitter's where you can find him. He's got his, you're doing your spaces again, Johnny. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm
Good
back
to see.
doing the spaces. Listen, I took a bit of time off because it's hard to do the streams, the spaces. Other people get sick of listening to you, right? And you don't want to be repeating the same thing over and over again. So last season, I think it was much easier to do these spaces because there was so much every week, every morning you opened up your paper or turned on the TV and there was another disaster had befallen Tottenham. This one had died, that one had been arrested. It was great for news. Right now, we're just dissecting the same thing over and over. So that's why I love the Devil's Advocate, because we have sensible conversation without shouting at each other, and we don't always agree. But you can find me here on Twitter, Johnny H3232, or you can find me on Tottenham on Tour doing ANGE management after the game, which now won't be till Sunday after the Palace game. Obviously I'll be here next week with Sean on when Dave.
You never know, you might see Johnny on here a bit more often. We're thinking about ways we can do a few more shows together and stuff as well.
We're going to do more.
But get over to twitter.com.
Go to Dave, because Dave actually spoke to me about doing the academy, because both of us are sort of keen watchers of the academy, but Dave spends a lot of time putting that all together. So go and give him a watch. Go and give him a like and a follow, and go and watch some of his great videos there, which, if you don't get time to watch some of the games and some of the loanies, it's insightful. I was very fortunate to go down to Wimbledon a couple of weeks ago to watch the under-18s beat Bournemouth 6-2.
Aren't they playing Saturday, Johnny, at the stadium?
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
Yeah. So, it's been very good. It's been very good. And thanks for a great show, guys, as always.
Seems like everyone enjoys it. It's lovely little double act from you two, and I'm just here to throw in the punches left and right with the with the advocate of the devil side, so to speak. Guys, we're going to leave it there. Get over to Johnny on Twitter. The link is there. Both, if you missed it, the link's in the description, guys. Also, get over to the Irish Hotspur. And if you don't mind, also get over to the Sean Butler TV. Link is in the description, and subscribe there, where I'm going to be posting a video later on today about the Brazilian Serie A and the financial situation that's happening over there. Multi-club ownership galore. UEFA revenues have ballooned in terms of commercial ownership. If you want to learn anything about that stuff, there'll be 2 or 3 videos this week coming out all about that stuff on Sean Butler TV. Love you all. Thanks, everyone, for the super chats. Thanks for your time this afternoon. Go and do whatever it is that makes you happy. I got to take Bugsy out for a walk. We'll see you on the next one. And as always, come on, you Spurs!